welcome to the War Room Part 3. Went to BrandSmart earlier today, picked up a webcam super cheap, so I thought I'd give this a shot, see how it turns out. Maybe scrapping this in the future, but we'll see what happens. So first I'll be talking about the PDM Zombie Apocalypse game, and what you probably noticed if you watched the last video is that Bali and Australia are very similar in color. So let's talk about the current state of the world right now. Well, obviously the great powers are almost all in Europe with the exception of Australia. Sweden is now controlled by a player. I believe his name is Dragon Breath, so he's taken over there. He's gobbled up most of Norway. He's probably going to be taking Denmark at some point, but he will probably be staying in first place. I don't see that changing anytime soon, but what you do see is that much of Europe and Asia and other areas are being recolonized now that the minimum life rating has dropped. Much of the world is being recolonized, and as you can see, Sweden is expanding and taking over large parts of Russia. Other areas are being recolonized by nations that up until just recently were essentially one province minors, but even the tiniest nations at this point can attempt to expand and take over large swaths of land, so that all depends on how many shipyards they have and that sort of thing. So let's see what's going on in Europe. Well, let's take a look back at the leaderboard. What you'll notice is that even the top-ranked nations, even though they are the top-ranked nations right now, hardly have any pops. Sweden leads with about 800,000. China is probably in second. Let's see how much China's got left. 600. I'm not too far behind at 400, but basically I need to catch up in a hurry. Philippines probably has a lot. Oh, actually Philippines is about depopulated too. So I need to civilize as quickly as possible. That's my goal. And I also need to, if possible, try and take over the few remaining areas in Malaysia before any of these other nations can civilize. So Johor is an obvious target, but we have a truce until 1867, so that will be up in about 3 years. Spanish Philippines, probably not long for this world. Most of that will turn into zombie land, but the problem is Spain, if Bart shows up, that is, if our Spain player shows up, then he might actually keep them from attacking me, but otherwise it's no holds barred, and of course the AI likes to intervene any chance it gets, so I'll be staying out of the Philippines at least until after I civilize. And unfortunately, Sulu is in the Spanish sphere. So as long as Sulu is in the Spanish sphere, I simply can't go after them, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Abacus, who was formerly playing as Japan, has moved down to Australia, which was released from the UK. I believe he's trying to colonize New Zealand now. Yeah, he's trying to expand to the east, so we'll see what happens there. He's also trying to colonize the interior, but the biggest problem here is that I was actually looking to expand south into Australia, so that kind of cuts me off a bit. So unless I can get a whole lot of tech in a hurry, I won't be able to colonize at all, in which case most everyone else will colonize around me, and then I'll have to fill in the gaps, which is a big problem for an uncivilized nation that's simply trying to catch up. So I have a lot of pops. That's the one thing I have going for me. So once I civilize, get a bit of tech, I don't think anyone's going to be able to touch me, with the exception of Sweden. And for the moment, I don't really have much going on. That is, I'm trying to get some artisans just so I can get some sort of industry going. I can't build clippers. I can't build units that are worth a damn at least. And I can't increase my technology any further because bureaucrats are maxed as well as clergymen. I can't train capitalists right now. I also can't train clerks, even though I can pump out plenty of craftsmen, but I simply don't have the money to do that right now. So I'm going to have to wait a little while until I can civilize and then see what happens after that. So I'm at 80%, so a couple more techs and I'm practically there. I think I might go ahead and invest into some of the military techs in the meantime. That's just because I'd rather not be lagging behind everyone else in the military game. I want to be way ahead in that. Money, I think I'm getting plenty of cash. That's not a concern. My industry is actually one of the strongest in the world right now. You see, I'm actually fourth in industry, even though I'm uncivilized. And even though I'm using irregulars and cavalry, my military rank is 9, so my rank is actually really good. And it shows that even for being uncivilized, I managed to hold it together pretty well as Bali. But as far as expansions, there's simply nowhere I can get to. So you see Johor here has a total of about 4 pops. I think that's right, let me double check. So you see Johor here, it says a population of 0, but if you click on the actual provinces, so each of these provinces has exactly 1 population. So if I were to land a couple units over here, I could quickly take over Johor, and that would give me some provinces, which is great, but it wouldn't give me any additional population. But that would allow me to expand into states. So any regions that are conquered while uncivilized become states once I civilize, so that would be advantageous on its own. So I think I'll go ahead and do that. Sulu obviously I can't take. I would love to go after the Netherlands, but unfortunately they are allied with some people who can actually do some damage, especially Russia. Russia's capital moved to Sitka, which is here in Alaska, which I didn't realize during the game last session, but this is actually a major problem, because this means Russia's capital is in the New World. So Russia can now get massive immigration for that reason alone. So if Russia actually recolonizes this area, that is, if they recolonize most of Eurasia, they're going to get all of their land back, plus the massive immigration that America would get. So that's a problem. Not looking forward to that. But aside from that, I'm looking to stay fairly liberal once I civilize, get a lot of immigration, steal as much land as I can when I get to that point, but in the meantime I just can't do a lot. My ships aren't getting any supplies whatsoever, and as a result of that I cannot leave this little safe zone. So any sea zone that is not currently adjacent to one of my provinces is simply off limits to me. So I can send my ships here, and from here I can land units to take on Johor, but other than that I can't really get to any other islands. So I can go around Borneo, I can go around Aceh, I can go around Indonesia, but that's about it. I can't get anywhere else. Because of that, most of the other islands that would be sort of optimal, for example Hainan or Formosa, that's just not feasible at the moment. But if I land some units on the mainland, I can just march them around without taking any attrition. So taking on Burma, that's a possibility. Going after Bengal, also a possibility. Bengal at the moment doesn't have any population, so even though they normally would have, 1 million or several million, that's going to be a cakewalk if I can get over there. But the only way I'm going to get over there is if I land units on Malaysia. So to do that, I'll have to probably split the stack. And this is another reason I've been going after military tech. So you probably noticed I was having a lot of trouble with rebels in the first couple of sessions, and that was because I just didn't have any tactics, didn't have any real power to my units. Now I've got some power, so I think I'll be fairly safe. I can split my 18,000 stack, leave 9,000 here for defense against rebels, send the other 9,000 on to do some damage, or maybe even send both off and then bring them back as necessary. But I don't have any zombie issues. All I've got are reactionaries, which that's no problem at all. You can see even the maximum number that could form here is 0. So yeah, I'm not even worried about that. There are a few liberation movements, but none of them have enough population to do anything. I've already taken Borneo. That was the sort of conclusion of the last session. But there's really nothing else I can do in this area. I just have to kind of hope that Australia leaves me alone, which, he might not do. That's up to him. We'll see what happens with that. So that's it for this campaign, and this will continue tomorrow, like today by the time this video is uploaded. So that video will be edited and uploaded quickly. Let's talk about the World War I campaign. Alright, we're going to do something a little bit different this time around. So I haven't uploaded or even edited yet the video for the third World War I game. But what I have here, this is the state of the world at the end of session 3. Now I actually missed the last session due to Thanksgiving, so a belated Thanksgiving to anyone who happens to be watching this. But what I want to do is look at the state of the world right now, which, again, the video getting to this point has not been uploaded yet, but what I want to talk about is where we are right now and where I think the game would have gone, or where it probably went, over the course of the next session. So remember, I've been saying since the very beginning of this campaign that we're doomed to fail as the Central Powers. So let's look at the state of the world. So here we are as France. France allied with Russia, obviously, and there's a major war, which I believe Japan started. Japan, I think that was Slazer at the time. Japan decided to take Korea. Korea being in, I think, the French sphere, called France and War. So Japan very quickly conquered Korea and annexed them by adding an additional war goal against Persia in this case, so taking Persia from the sphere of influence of Russia. So that allowed them to separately peace out with Korea, which they did, so they annexed Korea. So what's happened since then? Well, because of that, there are tickers for all of the Korean lands because they're currently not free. So Russia has to come and free them all in order to get any sort of positive ticker. Otherwise, it just counts against the Entente as long as that remains intact. So what we have here is the Japanese line. Japan is westernized, and let's see what their technology is. Looks like they are 12 out of 30 for military tech. Russia is 13 of 30, so very, very similar technology ratings. We see here is plenty of units for Japan holding the line, and I'm actually playing as France right now. So this is Gurin's nation at the end of the third session, which again has not been uploaded, so I'll be working on that at some point. Since Japan is at war with Russia, Russia of course called in its allies. Japan called in some allies of its own. Russia called in France. So France was then at war with Japan and its allies in the war, which in this case were Italy and the Netherlands. So Italy very quickly got rolled. Yeah, so France and its sphereling Switzerland are now wrecking Italy. And this is about where the game ended. Italy's technology, 15 of 30. They have supposedly 200 brigades. I don't think that's accurate. They're probably very disorganized. Yes, basically this is their whole army as I recall. And probably at the beginning of the fourth session these were going to get wiped. So what we have up here, well, Netherlands joined the war late. That is, once France had already committed everything it had down to the south, down to Italy, Netherlands joined, quickly rolled the northern part of France. So no one is up here opposing the Netherlands at the moment. France has been conquered. All of this region has been conquered. Alright, so this is the state of the game at the end of the third session. Let me just reiterate that. Okay. So what I also have is the save file for the end of the fourth session. So the goal here is to guess what happened at the end. That is, what happened after this current situation, and what is the state of the next game. So I'm going with sort of logical progression from this point forward. So if France imposes its war goal against Italy, which I don't know if that's even allowed, but if it happens, Italy is forever weakened and useless. If it doesn't happen, Italy is still forever weakened and useless. So Italy is no longer a player. Netherlands, its army gets wiped out. Japan may or may not hold out, but once Italy and Netherlands have been wiped out, France can then very leisurely come along and drop units wherever it wants, and then slowly march to Kyoto, take the capital, and then it's game over for Japan as well. So after that, Korea obviously gets released because that's one of the imposed war goals to begin with. Maybe it doesn't get released, maybe they only release part of it, but given that France actually took an infamy hit to go for Piedmont, I'm guessing that part of Korea gets liberated. For example, we can acquire Piedmont and then release 2 states. So for example, we can acquire Piedmont and then release 2 states from Korea. So my guess is that upon the loss of all of Italy's units, which is pretty much inevitable because these are all of Italy's units together marching this way. This French stack turns around, wipes out Italy's entire army within a month of the next campaign, or within a month of the next session. So after that, France turns around, whack-a-mole here in the north, wipes out the Netherlands army, recaptures all of this region, and at that point I think it's pretty obvious that the Central Powers stand no chance. So Silesia might hold out a little bit, being stubborn, or he might surrender immediately, in which case either way the war goals get imposed. And once that happens, part of Japanese Korea is released and lost, and Piedmont is also acquired by France. So at that point, all of Russia's units, all of Russia's useful units are here in the east. All of France's units are all over the place. At that point, I think it would make sense, to me personally, if the Central Powers mounted one last-ditch effort. That is, there's about half the session left, and at this point, the Central Powers simply need to do something. And with Russia's units over here in the east, now is the perfect time for Germany to strike. So Germany will probably try to recapture Lower Silesia. So Germany has a substantial military strength, 15 tech, which is, I believe, the highest out of most anyone in this game. So chances are Germany and once again Scandinavia will invade Russia. Russia may or may not call France, but will probably call Romania because Romania is in a position to defend against Germany. So the question then is, who joins on Germany's side? My guess is the answer to that is not the Ottomans. So perhaps if France comes in, then Spain might join. Or if France doesn't come in, for example, if the USA were to join, then USA has some units in Romania, or at least they did when I last checked. So I'm not sure where those units are right this second, but let's assume there's some American units somewhere in this area. So if the USA were to come in, simply put, no one can touch the USA, so they can come around and strike unexpectedly from really anywhere. Alright, so let's say that France does join. Well, that frees up Austria-Hungary to harass. So here we have Slovenia, which is in the Russian sphere. So this is now Austria-Hungary's opportunity to declare war on Slovenia. Russia, of course, does not have to join. They might join, they probably will not. So Austria-Hungary attacks Slovenia, reacquires Slovenia, and at this point it might be an opportunity for, let's say, Austria-Hungary and Turkey to attack one of Russia's allies. So Serbia here, I think, is why is Serbia allied? Okay, that's kind of odd. I think Serbia here is an obvious target, and not that they stand to gain anything by attacking Serbia aside from keeping the Entente powers otherwise preoccupied. So my guess is that Austria-Hungary and Turkey, after reconquering Slovenia for Austria-Hungary, turned towards Serbia just to keep the rest of the Entente occupied. So now we have Scandinavia and Germany pushing against Russia, optionally pushing against France, Spain possibly coming in from the south, and then Austria-Hungary and Turkey once again wreaking havoc in this area. So if Romania is preoccupied with Germany, then obviously Austria-Hungary and Turkey can't come in after Romania, but otherwise it might have been a repeat of some of the first wars. So another possibility is Austria-Hungary and Turkey together attack Romania, and if Russia comes in, then they can mount a line in this direction. Obviously France has Switzerland in its sphere, so it could come through this way, but given the mountains here, this would be a really strong defensive position for Austria-Hungary to defend against France. So with that information, Austria-Hungary could retake Slovenia, Austria-Hungary and Turkey could quickly overrun Romania before Russia can get any of its troops back, and then try and get some sort of peace deal in a hurry. Now, that's sort of the ideal, best case scenario. More realistically, here's what I think would have happened. Anyone declares war on Russia, the UK comes in. UK comes in, instant 100% blockade, no opportunity to move units around, slowly increasing war exhaustion, and eventually a catastrophic failure in the defense, leading to a failure and surrender. So if Germany attacks Russia, United Kingdom once again blockades. If Scandinavia comes in, they get blockaded. So basically Scandinavia and Germany can no longer get units back and forth. One or the other falls, and then everyone surrenders and everything gets taken apart. Let's say Austria-Hungary or Turkey declare war on either Romania or Serbia or Greece or Russia. UK joins in, moves its ships to the Bosphorus. Suddenly no one can get around, 100% blockade, and then simply pick off the different troops as they move around one by one. 100% war exhaustion, Austria falls, Turkey falls, one or the other. Or Austria-Hungary declares war on Slovenia, Russia comes in, Russia calls in the United States. United States basically does the same thing. At its leisure, drops troops wherever it feels like. Those troops march in slowly over time, causing increased war exhaustion, etc., etc. Increased war exhaustion causes rebellions, etc. They could even, keep the occupations going and then just let the rebels take over. So there are a lot of potential rebellion targets, and as long as the Entente remains intact, the Central Powers really stand no chance. So anyone who gets fully occupied, high war exhaustion, here come the rebels, there's your released nations. So you could even have Prussia released from Germany, Hungary released from Austria-Hungary. There's many, many possibilities here. Basically Ottomans ripped apart. But I don't see any really strong, I don't see any real possibility of the Central Powers pulling this out. So let's say my final guess is for what happened in session number 4. Piedmont goes to France, 2 states from Korea are liberated. In the peace deal against Austria-Hungary and Turkey, who were together in a war. Yeah, this is just my guess. My guess is that Austria-Hungary and Turkey were together in a war against one or more Balkan states, and as a consequence of that, the UK came in, wrecked their shit, and now Turkey and or Austria-Hungary have lost even more land, perhaps all of Serbia. There might be Yugoslavia at this point. Romania Romania already has all of its cores, but Greece will have recaptured some of its cores. Serbia will now be more complete than it was before, and Germany will probably be no worse off. That is, my guess is that the Entente feels sorry for Germany, and they will not impose any additional sanctions against Germany. So Italy was strong. They ripped Italy apart. Austria-Hungary was already weakened. Germany is weak as in its current state. My guess is that they will not cause any additional damage to Germany. And let's say, my guess is that Scandinavia is left alone, and just because it's useless. As they've got good tech, but they don't have enough population to do anything. So my guess is that Scandinavia was left alone. So Germany the same, Scandinavia the same, Austria-Hungary ripped apart. Turkey, Serbia and Greece liberated from Turkey. Italy, useless. Netherlands may or may not have Belgium ripped from it. Spain, no changes. And Japan, minus half of Korea. So that's my guess. Now let's see what actually happened. Here we are at the end of session 4, which is the session over Thanksgiving weekend, which I did not attend, but Gurin was gracious enough to give me the save. So now we see what happens. So Germany and Austria-Hungary are at war with France and the United Kingdom. Let's see what other truces exist. So it appears that Romania has truces with Germany and Austria-Hungary. So it appears that Austria-Hungary declared war on Romania for its cores. It got some of those cores back, and in the process kicked Romania out of the war. And what else has happened? So also truce with Switzerland. So Switzerland, being an AI, was fully occupied and then forced out of the war, or at least with 100% or very high war score, war exhaustion, it's possible to get an AI nation out of the war. So Romania defeated, apparently lost some land to Austria-Hungary. Now Turkey is intact, so Turkey was not called into this war. And it appears that Austria won its individual war, so it also did not lose any ground to Serbia. So let's see what's going on in the east. My inclination here was correct. That is, looks like 2 states of Korea were liberated. A third one was acquired by Russia as a colony. So by acquiring a colony, that was a very low war score requirement. So it appears that's what happened there. I don't see any additional changes in this region, but it's possible that some other colonies were taken by Russia from Japan. So let's look in the west. I don't think there are any changes here, except Spain lost Cuba to America somehow. What happened here? Alright, so USA unilaterally went after Spain. Spain was unable to do anything and lost Cuba. Okay. I guess I should have seen that coming, really. I didn't think they were just going to leave Spain out to dry like that. But USA had infamy to burn, and they didn't end up with a whole lot, so good for them. So Africa, looks like it mostly went to the Entente for one reason or another. Probably because they have the naval ports. France took Piedmont as expected, and now France is at war with Germany and Austria-Hungary. So Germany is trying to contain France, Austria-Hungary is trying to contain France, and Germany is trying to reacquire Alsace-Lorraine, and they're losing. Why are they losing? Because they don't have Alsace-Lorraine. There's very little shift in the score due to battles. However, Alsace-Lorraine is at minus 17.6%. And let's take a look at war exhaustion and the like. So, war exhaustion. Germany is at 29%, France is at 43%, Austria-Hungary is at 28%, and UK is at an incredibly low 3%. So basically, UK is helping France hold the line. Germany and Austria-Hungary are completely at a loss. Neither one can get through. There's now a full blockade of Germany. I'm sure there's a full blockade of Austria as well, and there is. So at this point, there's simply nothing that the attackers can do, and they've got a constant war ticker against them. So basically, Germany and Austria-Hungary lost. Now, after this war is over, obviously France's infamy went down since then, so they could actually impose some additional war goals, etc. But this war was not concluded at the end of the last session, so Austria-Hungary is now once again a great power, probably not for long after this war is over. Let's take a look. So we got UK, France, USA, Russia. Alright, so we got 4 in the Entente, 4 in the Central Powers as great powers. And what is left to do? Well, basically Germany is going to lose this war, and as soon as it does, UK can impose whatever it feels like, because you see, UK has a lot of infamy to spend. France not so much, but it doesn't need to. So after that, so yeah, this is going just out of curiosity. Alright, so German stack is surrounded there. This French stack's moving here. This one's moving there. And as soon as that battle's over, the German army gets wiped out in Italy. Alright, so let's take a look at Germany just out of curiosity. So within Germany, hardly any units left, so basically UK, France can just march through. And once that's over, well, I mean, it's already over at this point. There's just simply nothing left. There's just simply nothing left. So basically, this game is over. That is, Japan is the only Central Power that still has any sort of potential left. So it looks like Austria-Hungary was able to expand in the last session. So to my surprise, Germany did not go after Russia. It looks like they were trying to take out France, but assuming France was able to take out Netherlands in the first place, all of their troops were here in the mainland, and they were quickly able to repel both Germany and Austria-Hungary. So not a whole lot of opportunity there for Germany or Austria-Hungary to come in. And as expected, UK joined the side of whoever was defending, and with their full blockade very quickly got the war score up and prevented any sort of real troop movements. And that's the real problem with this game. And is there's a reason that the Central Powers lost World War One, and we know that the situation for the Central Powers in World War One was not exactly ideal for them, and we see that even here in pre-World War One situation, given the same alliances, that was also not exactly ideal for them. There's two major problems with this campaign from the beginning, as I've said over and over. One of the problems being that if you have set alliances, that is, if you have set coalitions from the very beginning, there's no possibility of shifting, then the optimal strategy is to keep kicking the enemy while they are down. That is, to never let up and to relentlessly hammer until your strongest opponent is no longer a worthy opponent at all. And that's exactly what they did with Germany. They immediately ripped Austria-Hungary apart, and so on. Of course, the exact opposite could have happened. That is, if we, as the Central Powers, had won some of the early wars, then this might have been turned around. But then our optimal strategy would have been to do the exact same back to them. So either way, it's a very, very one-sided game. That is, whoever wins the early wars wins the whole campaign. So after the first couple wars, there's simply no point in even playing anymore. And we see that, once you have that handicap, there's no coming back from it. The only real way to recover would have been through like imposed truces, or from allowing the entire coalitions to come in against each other. But it still had the issue where approximately a third of our adversaries were completely untouchable. So given that UK had the strongest navy in the game, Russia had the second strongest navy in the game, and France had the third strongest navy in the game, and no one on our side was even close for decades. There's simply no way for us to do anything that requires marching anywhere other than places we can reach by land. So anywhere that's not part of Eurasia is simply untenable for us. So I think at this point a loss is inevitable. That is, the Central Powers simply cannot come back from this. Scandinavia, that was fun while it lasted, I guess, but really the whole game was just sort of like an underdog situation. That is, how long could we survive? I guess the answer to that question is until 1873. So given the suboptimal conditions of World War One imposed at the even more suboptimal time of 1836, we can see how quickly Germany can fall apart. That's the sort of moral of the story. So from here, I'm guessing this campaign will be over. It might possibly go for one more session, but I highly doubt it. We'll find out soon enough. And I will be posting the video for session 3 if you want to know how that went. Obviously not well, but if you're curious, you're welcome to watch that. More raging from the Central Powers, I suppose. And otherwise, we'll see where we go from here. With the second ranked game of the season having come to a close, the third game has already begun. That's the Small Nations game, which unfortunately I'm not in, so I will be passing on that one. It'll probably be over fairly quickly because I don't get the impression that a whole lot is happening. So let me know what you think. Let me know if I should ditch the whole webcam aspect, if that actually adds anything or not. We'll find out, I guess, when I actually play a game. But right now you can just see sort of the setup. So in the back I've got one of the computers that actually does the rendering for me. You can't see some of the other computers, but there's a stack there in the back. Yeah, if anyone's interested, I might actually have a quick tour of this setup. That is, it's kind of interesting. I've got basically my own server rack in the back there, but obviously doesn't have blades in it. But it's kind of a cool system, I think. So it also runs my web server and Trulia whenever that's up. So I might be working on that at some point. Obviously, most interested at the moment in the Bali campaign, and also in preparing for campaign number 4, which will probably be with Pony Demand Mod. So we'll see what happens with that. That needs some work though. So let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know if I should scrap the webcam aspect of it, or if you'd like to see more of that. It's a little bit more complicated than what I've been doing previously, but we'll see how it goes. And have a good one, and thanks for watching.